is sponsored by Ram Trucks, built to serve.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to First Things First. I'm Jenna Wolf. Nick Wright, all smiles this morning. Kevin is here. We got Brian Westbrook with us this morning. We'll get to you in a second, Nick. But coming up on a Tuesday morning, among our big story, don't expect a humbled Cam Newton this season because he is not. Hey, who do you think's more important for the Lakers to win a title this season, LeBron or AD? We will discuss. And should the Yankees be favorites to win the World Series this year because they are co-favorites? We'll talk about that, but we begin on this Tuesday morning with 500 million reasons why it is good to be Patrick Mahomes today. The Chiefs signed their all-everything quarterback to the richest contract in sports history, 10 years, worth up to $500 million. GM Brett Veach, happy to have his guy locked in. Show host Jenna Wolf, happy to work with a die-hard Chiefs fan. So Nick Wright, my friend, Mahomes didn't need to sign right now, but clearly he wanted to. So let's take a step back and look at this marriage of the two of them together. Do you think this deal is better for Mahomes, or is it better for the Kansas City Chiefs?
Well, I think it's outstanding for all parties involved, yours truly included, but it is better for the Chiefs. The Chiefs are the ultimate winners in this because the best player in the sport, the most talented player maybe ever to play his position, made an affirmative choice at age 24 that he wants to spend the entirety of the prime of his career in Kansas City, Missouri, playing for the Kansas City Chiefs. It is stunning for a team that for 50 years was looking for a quarterback from Lynn Dawson to Mahomes, for a team who prior to Mahomes, the last quarterback they drafted to win a game for the franchise was Todd Blackledge, to now not only have the best player in the league on their team, not only have a Super Bowl under their belt, but to have that player sign an unprecedented contract. And listen, it's not like Mahomes did charity for the organization. It's unprecedented in his favor as well. Most injury guarantees ever. There's a rolling guarantee. Basically, his future salary and roster bonuses vest a year early. So every year he plays will be a guaranteed year. So he has nearly $500 million of financial security. But when we're hearing far inferior players, such as Dak Prescott, the Cowboys want him to sign for 5, and he only wants to sign for 4. Deshaun Watson, who isn't a far inferior player, but is a lesser player who does not, I believe, trust his franchise, so he doesn't want to sign very long term. When you're seeing those negotiations go on while Patrick Mahomes, the best player in the sport, says, sign me up till my mid-30s. I trust the franchise. It is an A-plus win for Mahomes. It is an A quadruple plus win, Wilds, for the Chiefs franchise and for my hometown, the city of Kansas City.
See, I was expecting way more gloating here, Brian, because 24 hours ago, Nick Wright had his head in his hands saying he was so mad still about Cam Newton, and I was all smiles, and Nick was miserable. And Lori tweeted out my clip on how happy I was of Cam, and I didn't even get a chance to retweet it until I saw this Patrick Mahomes news break, and I was like, you know what? This is not how the world is supposed to work. We're not supposed to reward a grown man pouting on TV yesterday with getting his franchise quarterback for 12 more years. But unlike you, Nick, I am happy for you. And Brian, I think I'm happy, even as a Patriots fan, I'm happy for all NFL fans. I think one of the cornerstones of the NFL is continuity of quarterbacks. I can get in and root for Aaron Rodgers for 15 years. I can root for Brett Favre for decades. I can root for Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, and we can let these storylines develop. Hopefully Lamar signs a big deal, and we can see that for a long, long time. I'm very happy for you, Nick. And Brian, I'm happy for myself, even though I'm a Patriots fan.
Kevin, if it only takes Nick pouting just for a day or so to get this type of contract, then I need Nick to be my agent, and I need him to be my pouter as well, because I want this type of money. You know, when you're in NFL locker rooms and these types of contracts come across the waiver line, you're always saying, wow, and really this has never happened, but you say this is baseball money. This is A-Rod money back in 07 when he got that big deal from the Yankees. This is the type of money that you just marvel at, because not just because of the amount of years, which I think it feels like it's unprecedented, but also the amount of money. Think about this, and I think this is where Nick may be a little bit delusional as far as the Chiefs having the better end of it.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think Patrick Mahomes has the much better end of it. He's 24 years old. He's only started 36 games in his career. He had 2 years left on his deal, and he got a team to commit to him in the league where you have a bunch of injuries every single year at the quarterback position for 10 additional years on top of the 10 years of his contract. To me, that's amazing in and of itself. I respect Andy Reid. I respect Brett Veach and a whole lot. I've been with those guys. I spent a lot of time with both of those guys, and I'm just still shocked because they saying they want Patrick Mahomes for 10 years. And listen, 10 years is a long time. Think about this. In 2010, Aaron Rodgers won a Super Bowl. He was 27 years old, and in my mind, I'm saying, you know what? Aaron Rodgers is going to lead this Packer teams to multiple Super Bowls in the next 10 years or so. And now over the last 10 years, you're talking about from 2010 to 2020 at this point, they've only had 13 playoff games. He's only won 6 of those games. So when you're talking about a 10-year commitment, that's a long time. And you're also saying that you want this one player for a long time. And Nick, I agree with you. It's a great deal at this point, but 10 years is a very long time.
But even with the lack of Super Bowl success for the Packers, they would have in 2010 signed up for 10 more years of Aaron Rodgers. It's what they ended up getting. A couple things here. The numbers are confusing because they were reported almost in stages. Here's the simplest way to look at it and why it's such a great deal for the Chiefs. They just got Patrick Mahomes to add 10 years to the 2 years he already had left on his deal, and they only increased their salary cap this year by $600,000. He has 2 years left on his rookie deal. Then it's essentially a 5-year, $200 million deal, and then a 5-year, $250 million deal. So he's going to make $40 million a year over the first 5 of the extension, $50 million a year over the next 5 of the extension. In a world where Dak might be getting $38 million here in a week or so, it is an immense bargain. And it does show immense faith by Mahomes that the franchise is going to continue to surround him with weapons. This deal might allow them to sign Chris Jones long term if that's what they want to do. And he couldn't be in better hands, Jenna, with Andy Reid, Brett Veach, who's been planning for this moment for years, and the weapons around him. He couldn't be in a better spot.
And quickly before we move on, we've been talking for weeks about how we'll never see another dynasty like we saw in New England with the great coach and the great quarterback all locked in for years and years. And now you have that with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and a great organization that fully supports both of those guys. And we'll discuss this a little later, but maybe we are seeing the beginning of what's to come. I think that's what I love so much about this. All right, let's talk a little bit more about bang for your buck with this contract. Our friends over at Fox Bet have set the over-under at 1.5 scenes like this. 1.5 Super Bowl wins for Mahomes and the Chiefs over the next 12 years. Wilds, it's why we keep running it. All right, Nick, 1.5. So how many Super Bowls does Mahomes, do you think, need to win for this deal to be considered a success?
Well, if he wins one more, he has more than Rodgers, more than Manning won with Indy, more than Breeze has, more than Steve Young. If he wins 2 more, if he hits the over on this, then he's in the rarefied areas more than John Elway, same as Troy Aikman. And obviously, if he wins 3 more, then only Brady has more total Super Bowls than him. Wilds, I saw you rolling your eyes at the dynasty part of it. And Jenna's right, we can talk more about that later. And I don't know how we're going to define dynasty. But for this to be a resounding, no doubt success, over the next 12 years, they got to win 2 of them. They have to hit the over on this. I think over the next 12 years, they're going to win 3 of them, a minimum. I think they will win 25% of the Super Bowls that is won during the life of this contract. That would put them at 4. But if they only win 1 more, over the next 12 years, then I think people would say it was a good deal, but not a great deal. I think they have to hit the over on the Fox bet number, Wilds, for this to be considered a resounding success of a contract for the organization.
See, this sounds extreme, but I think the answer is 0. I think you're okay having Aaron Rodgers, an Aaron Rodgers type run here, where you're always in the conversation. You're a 2-time MVP. You're relevant for an entire decade. I don't know. And Nick, you're the big, like, don't count the rings. You can still be better and not have the rings. Like, football, he has very, very little control whether or not get the rings or not. Like, God knows I love Brady. I've got a shrine of Brady right here. It's right next to my Westbrook shrines over there. The Brady shrines right here. Those Super Bowls, Vinatieri got a Super Bowl. The defense got a Super Bowl. Like, I don't know if you can put this all on Patrick Mahomes and say, like, it's not going to be a success if the guy doesn't win a Super Bowl, Brian.
You know, Kevin, when I hear a guy gets this type of money and you're the best player at the most important position in football, to me, I think it is all about the Super Bowls. And if you're telling me he's only won one Super Bowl in the next 12 years, I would be disappointed. To me, I think the number has to be he needs to get 3 more Super Bowls in the next 12 years. And I know that's a lofty goal, Nick, but I think it's true. Here's the deal. You have Peyton Manning, obviously, with a couple of Super Bowls. You have Tom Brady with 6. You have Joe Montana with 4 and Terry Bradshaw with 4. You want to get into that over 3 number. And so that's more than Troy Aikman, who obviously had a dynasty down there in Dallas. And so you have to get into that air because, again, we're talking about a guy that's 24 years old. And when you combine him with Andy Reid, just like